Hey, good morning, everybody. This is John at Pro Craps. I see some people. Greg's already here. That's great. Honey Beginnings is here. Donald Fuller. Donald, your wife looks exactly like my sister-in-law. It's weird. I look at that picture of you on the chat, which is on my screen pretty big. I'm like, my God, it's Chris. It's weird. Anyway, good morning. We're going to continue our work on strategy deconstruction, and I'm using the Butterburg as the means to do that. So I'm not meant to be a review or a torturing of Dan's strategies per se. I just really like the strategy. It's a fun one for me to play. I practice with it all the time because it gives me a good lens into how the dice are performing actually, because it's a nice look at like short rolls hurt you, long rolls, you're kind of agnostic to, and the mid rolls is where it kind of targets. And it's a fun one to roll out and get a sense of how I'm doing when I'm doing my roll practice. It gives me a really good sense of where I am. So that's why I like that strategy. It's fun to play. I'm not quite there yet with the proper hedge on the come out. I'm going to try something different today just to kind of get through some ideas. I know that Dan doesn't love the fact that I don't do the do we don't. I can't, obviously. So when strategies call for that, I flatly ignore it only because I can't. My casinos don't allow it up here. So I tend to find other ways to beat the come out roll, and that's why the back wall lay. That's why Brian's the HP 120, those kind of things are where I end up landing on the come out, because I can't do we don't. And frankly, even if I could, I don't love the enormous amount of odds that it takes to beat something. So laying 600 odds out there to win maybe 300, that's a ton of risk on the point being hit to me. I'd rather risk the 100 on the come out and have a little less exposure after the roll. So anyway, it's one of these things where I kind of weigh it out. And for my way of playing, I'd rather take a little bit of risk here, a little bit of risk there, than a big chunk of it where I can avoid it. So anyway, that's the thing on that. I love the strategy. I think Dan's a really cool thinker. I love listening. He talks, if you haven't gone to Dan Tena 357 channel, and I'll put him up here. We won't see it yet, but on the right side of the page, there'll be like a little icon thing. I'll link to his page so you can get to it easier, but get there and subscribe to Dan. He's not just now rolling out the strategy. When he first started his channel, he was doing just the strategy rollout and sort of talking through it. Now he's giving like sage advice. He's talking about addiction. He's talking about gambling problems. He's talking about his philosophy. He's really getting into we're getting into his brain now, which is, he's crossing that line, which is great. I think it's really, really cool. So definitely get over to his channel. So I don't want to belabor the point too much, but I want to make sure that we look at it again, just to make sure that we're all caught up on where the strategy is. Right now, the Butterbird strategy that I'm going to work this strategy here. It's a $100 do we don't. He does 600 across, 640 across rather, with $600 in odds. Depending on the point, obviously those odds pay differently, but he takes he calls it a sacrificial roll. So after the point's been set, he lets it roll one time to avoid the PSO. And he admits, he said it yesterday, he's like, I don't care if you laugh at me for doing that. He said, if I can beat the PSO every time, it just makes me feel good. Fine. I mean, there's no mathematical reason to sacrifice the roll. There's no mathematical reason not to sacrifice the roll. It's just he likes to do it. I don't want to waste a roll. I feel like, if I can get one, I get one. I want to get out of these hands as fast as I can. So I don't do the sacrificial roll when I roll it out. But I can see his point. 28% of the rolls are a point followed by a 7. So about a quarter of the time, or a little above that sacrificial roll probably saves you from losing money. So I see why he's doing it. The math in my mind is like, it's something to think about. But if you have 5 where it doesn't happen, then you end up losing out. So I sort of go back and forth on that. The Butterburg strategy has you going all the way across. When every place bet wins, you take the winnings and the bet and put them both in your rack. And by design, it's almost like you're pre-setting a bunch of come bets. You're place betting and you're taking the hit and the bet comes back like a come bet would had you run it through the system, which is cool. I love the fact that it's got a built-in collection system. It's safe in that regard so that you're not stuck with a bunch of bets out there that are going to get whacked when the 7 comes. That's the genius of the system. I think it's a really good, safe way to guarantee and lock up profits. He does it 1, 2, or 3 hits and out depending. Yeah, he's working with hopping the point. I've seen that too. there's nuance to this thing with how much money you've got. I'm going to put that up. Greg's comment here was this. Let me get my mouse over there. Dan is toying with hopping the point. There's lots of things you can toy with, right? Remember this, the more you tinker, right, there's what I call the hedge tax. You're going to pay a hedge tax. Everything, Hal, I will show you what the sacrificial roll is. I'll show you, I'll roll it out with this roll so you can see what it looks like in practice. But anyway, there's going to be a hedge tax to pay. And I'll show it to you when I go out here. I'm going to hedge a couple of things that I wouldn't normally hedge. And it basically is a tax. It's a slow bleed versus getting thumped one time. For example, on the come out roll, if I have $100 on the don't pass and I hedge that, partial hedge with 3 $5 hopping 7 bets, okay? Each one of those would pay $75, but you'd lose the 10. So it's a net of $65 on a 7. You lose the 100, so your net loss on that is $45. You lose 110, you win 65. Is it worth it to save the 100? I don't know if it's worth it to save the 100. It feels like you're losing less than 100, but on the rolls that aren't 0.7 ounce, you're starting out the hand by $40 down. And I don't love starting from behind, I like starting from ahead. And you know, if the 7 hits you on the come out roll multiple times in succession, sure, it can hurt. I just don't know that it's worth it. Hedging is a tough one. Like I said, it's a tax. It definitely sucks the bankroll from you in slow increments, and you don't realize it until all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, I should have more money than this. And you don't have more money than that. So let's go ahead and run to the table real quick, and I'm going to show you a couple things. Today's going to be about this. I'm going to go to the Butterburg My Way screen. I'm going to do it at a lower level, okay? I will talk about leveling this thing in a little bit here. I'm going to go at what I would consider the butter zone level for the Butterburg is this. $100 don't pass, 160 across. So you're 260 out on the board. I allot 275 per shooter instead of 260 because it's easier in the rack to manage. The extra $15 is an option play for me, but it's 100 don't pass, 160 across. Then you have options. I'm always going to pull the greens. Today we're going to talk about options and how this strategy can transform itself into a light side play, pure light side play, or a pure dark side play. I'm going to show you sort of at the table how the baseline of that works. I'm going to roll out, I'm going to pretend to have a golden perfect roll and show you what the options are. And then we'll talk about the options. And there's also going to be a point that I'm going to call the nexus point of profit. And when you get to this point, we have big decisions to make, and there's going to be lots of discussion and debate in the chat, I'm sure. I'm hoping that PJ comes and he can tell me screamingly I should never do what I'm about to do, but I'm going to talk to you about why you may make certain decisions. So here we go to the table. We're going to roll it out my way, but I will talk about the actual way as we go. So looks like my camera's not on. Sorry for the black screen there. I think we're running now. All right, let me get my chips reset, and I'll get the light turned on, and then we'll get this thing set up. There we go. Okay, so the Butterburg, the John way. I'm going to set it up from the dealer side here, leave my rack alone. $100 on the don't. Actually, yeah, 100 on the don't. We're going to go 160 across. That's a $25 level all the way across. And I'm picking this amount today for a very specific reason, because we're going to do some transformations here. Okay, there's the 7 that I rolled last night before I went to bed. Always go to bed on a happy note, rolling a 7. Okay. Yes, PJ, you're right. The biggest tax is the $100 don't pass. It's a big tax designed as a safety net. That's a really good point that you're making there, and that's why, like I say, I am looking for the quickest time that I can to get rid of that damn thing. I like it there because in the early stages of the strategy, it is a small safety net, but you got to get rid of it. You got to, I say, trim the hedges, and that's a definite hedge. And like you say, it feels like a tax when it's all said and done. All right, here's the strategy. I'm going to pay this out front of the numbers. Let's pretend we have a perfect roll. Let's pretend for the point's a 9. Doesn't matter what the point is, but let's say it's a 9. Okay, and let's say that we roll each of the box numbers in succession. Let's say that we have a perfect roll for the marching soldier, okay? And I'm going to pay the 9 and 10 without the tax, okay? So we're going to get paid $50 on the 9. We'll get paid 35 on the 5, 35 on the 6, 35 on the 8, 35 on the 9, and again, that 50, I'll do it with reds and greens on the 10. Okay, now the Dantana way of doing it, the Butterburg way, and the aggressive Butterburg that I play, I will run through all of it, right? I'll take all that stuff. I'm going to get all 6. Dan will stop at 1 or 2. I'm going to run this thing aggressively through all 6. It's a way that I measure my performance anyway, is to kind of run through the whole thing. What if, instead of just doing it the normal way and taking all this stuff back to the rack, if you did take it all to the rack, by the way, if you took it all down, besides being even, your profit level would be 50, 150, plus 25 and 25, another 50, right? So that's 200, 10, 20, 30, 40, 240 in profit if you pull it all down. If you happen to hit all 6 numbers and pull it all down, that's 240 in profit, and you're left with the don't pass sitting out there potentially as another 100 in profit. So if the golden roll happens, you hit all 6 numbers and then the 7, you're 340 in the bank and you're going home, right? It almost never happens, but that's potential. What I want to talk to you about is the potential of this. What if we only racked the green chips? Okay, that's option 1. Option 1 is just collect everything and run for the hills, right? Option 2 would be to collect the green chips only. Leave all the reds out here, okay? If you do that, you're gonna have 100, 200, 300 bucks going back to your rack, okay? If that were to happen, that's a $300 collection into your rack. That's more than you started with, by the way, okay? When they all come in, that's 300, you started with 275, you're up a quarter if they all happen to hit, and your don't pass is still there, and all these reds are potential to be played with. They're all, yes, you're right, Don. If the point gets hit, you lose DP, but I don't care about that at that point. At this point, I would have money in the rack. What I want to talk about is the red chips. What do we do with the red chips? Because you can collect them, right? The way that the strategy normally works, you collect the red chips, right? There's 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 bucks out here in red chips, okay? You can collect them. Fine, good solution. You can reinvest them, though, in one of 2 ways. What if you took the red chips and turned them into place bets when those numbers hit? And you transform the green chips into an automatic regression. I'd probably take the 4 and 10 only at $10 level, like so. And as they hit, instead of just collecting the whole thing, take the red chips only, the caps, as it were, and make them place bets. And Greg, when he rolled this out last night, was talking about fear of missing out, which a lot of right side bettors had this intense fear of missing out on something good. Take the profits that you earned and make them the base of a regression. That's a fun way to play this thing, right? That way you're not missing out on anything. You just regress them down. You still have your lock of profit, and now you're playing across with all profits at a lower level, and that becomes the regression. Then you can up and pull money every time. You can do a half press, increase your bet level, and pull down. That's a way to transform the standard Butterburg into a right side play, which I like a lot. The other option you've got with it is taking those red chips, and as you get the hit, let's say the 4 hits, you take your 2 of the reds and go into the don't. So that when the 5 hits, you take those 2, go into the don't, and build up the back wall kind of as you go. And now you have a ton of 7 protection. In fact, you can get 100 bucks behind, pull this $100 down, and have the same $100 in 7 actions spread across 5 numbers and lock up that $100 in profit, which I think is an interesting place to be. Really interesting place to be. There's also the nexus point where you could be here. You could have the 100. I'm going to lay these back out again as place bets. Okay, pretend that those are capped. When you're here, let's say you've pulled all the numbers down. Let's say they're all here, right? And now you're at this weird point where you've got $100 essentially out here on the place bets and $100 on the don't pass. And now you got to make a decision. So here's where PJ and I will sometimes disagree, and others maybe too. What do you do in this point? Because here, and this is all profit, right? Everything out on the board, once you've recouped your initial winnings back, your initial outlay back, the entire board is profit. There's 200 bucks out here. So you could pull the whole thing down and lock up 200 bucks and be out of the hand. You could pull just the don't, lock this up as a profit, let these bets ride and potentially earn more money. You could pull these bets down, lock that up as profit, and then just play for the 7. There's lots of ways you can go. Once you're at the point where you've got your profit and your base back in the rack, then what do you do with these bets here? And that's the thing you want to talk about internally, right? If you get the 7 at this point, you'd lose potential 100 and bring back 2 to the rack. If you pull that and the 7 doesn't come and you keep hitting numbers in here, this becomes less effective over time. So that's where I want to lead us down the road. We're going to run this out 2 ways. So I'm going to show you how to play this strategy live in those 2 forms. We're going to play it a couple of times, forcing it to be a right side strategy. We're going to play it a couple of times, forcing it to be a don't strategy, so you can see. Okay, here we go. I'm going to set this back up again. I'm going to preset the board. And we're going to keep track in the rack here. So there's my 160. Okay, if I bought in for 175, I'd have 15 extra bucks. 160, 175. There's my 275. Each shooter in the rack is 275. So I come out of the gate once. I'm going to mark. There's the 4, the 5, the 6, the 7, the 8, the 9, and the 10. There's the markers. 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10. There's my markers. I'm going to use those to remember what numbers got hit, because if we do have a pretty good run here, we're gonna get lost in that. I'm going to show you what this looks like. I'm going to pay the hedge tax. We're going to put 15 bucks on hopping 7s. I'm going to let the 11 beat me. I'm going to put 15 bucks on hopping 7s. Now, if the point gets hit, I'm burning 15 bucks. That's the tax. That's the hedge tax. 15 bucks hedge tax every single time I start out of the gate behind. If the 7 happens to run, right, we'll lose 10, we'll win 75, and we'll lose this. And now I've got 75, 80 bucks, and I've lost, again, I'm down $25 here if I do this. I'm down more than that, $35. So that's an interesting twist that could happen. I'm going to show you what this looks like. We're going to pay the tax. If it works out, I've got a plan to make it make a little bit of sense as we go. So here we go. We're going to run this out. I'm going to roll like yesterday. I'm just going to sit here at the end of my table. I'm not going to really set. I'm just going to grab the dice kind of as they come, and we're just going to roll it out. I'm just going to work on my toss. This is the first toss of the day, so I don't know what's going to happen. And I'm going to go right side version first, and then we'll do the transitional strategy. So we're going to be a 6 is the point, 516. So we burn 15 bucks. We already paid tax. We're down to start the roll. Not loving that. Now here, Hal, is where Dantana plays what he calls the sacrificial roll. I'll do it for you here, only this one time, just so you can see. He calls this a sacrificial roll. What he does, he puts his bets out, and everything is off. So nothing counts on the place bets. We'll roll it out. If it happens to be a 7, he beats the 0.7 out. Now he turns the bets back on, and we're rolling. I look at that as though I just missed a 4, right? So I would never do that. That's just my personal way versus his personal way. And he sees it, you know, fine. That's Dan's way of playing it. It's cool. So we missed out on a 4 on the sacrificial roll, but now we're back in the hand. Here we go. It's going to be a 6. We hit the point on the second shot, which is a real bummer because, again, had we hit the 4 and gotten paid on it that first time, I would have 50 in my rack. I don't have that right now. What I've got is this. The 6 gets hit for 35 bucks. We lose our don't, which is, again, it's you know, that's normally a pretty good bet down there. And even if it's a 6, it's a good bet. Again, we're going to take the reds, put them in play. I'm going to work this section of the rack here today while I'm running the front. So 4, 5, 6. The 6 got hit. I'm doing this because I want to remember which ones get hit. They may get built back up, and we might forget. Okay. So we take our, sorry, that 5 should be here. So we took the greens off the table, racking the green, placing it with the extras, with those reds. Okay. So now the puck's gonna be off. We have no protection back there now, right? Remember, my philosophy is this: until a shooter 7's out, the money that I allotted for that shooter, that I budgeted for the shot, is all I got. right? I'm not going to take what I just pulled off the table and make a new don't pass bet out of it. I'm not going to dig into my next shooter's worth of money. That bet didn't do its work. So now I got to fight. Now I got to play from behind here. So here we go. We're going to come out. New shot here. A 5 will be the new point. And now we got to get some numbers. Hopefully we have a decent roll here and can get through it. Otherwise, we're going to start out this whole thing behind. What do we have? A 2, 3, 5. Look at that, 2 points in a row almost immediately. So again, the 5 pays 25, 35. We're going to rack the greens. We're going to play the reds. So rack the green, put the reds back in play, and you're going to transition. There's the 5 getting paid, by the way, so we don't forget. We will transition ourselves from pure Butterburg into an across bet that essentially is going to be all paid for, assuming we can beat the rolls. That's a 1, 2, 3 shocker. Okay, here we go. There's a hard 8, 4, 4 square pair, hard 8. Same thing, the 8's going to pay 25, 35 bucks. We're going to rack the greens. We're going to play the reds. That'll go to the rack. And there is my 8 being hit. So we have 3 of our top bets knocked off. Looking pretty good at this point. We just need to get a couple more. I'd like to get those 4 and 10s to hit. Those are great. They really just bump this thing up if we can nail them. There's the boxcars. That does nothing for us. I'd love to get to that nexus point with you here and be able to have that conversation about when to pull profits. But of course, we lost down here earlier, so we can't do it on this roll. There's a 1, 2, 3 shocker again. A lot of field numbers in here. You can make of it what you will. I wouldn't jump into the field, though. That's not too early in my throwing career to do a trend. Okay, 4, 3, 7, bummer. I would have loved to have had this down here at this point. This has been a great point to have it, but whatever. We lost on that one a little bit. We got 3 bets to pay. And our net here isn't terrible. Let's turn the whites in for a red. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 125 out of that shooter. So if you take away that loss, right? That loss on when the point got hit, you're not that far off, right? From being even on that. And again, we had to fight a little bit from behind to get there. Not a big deal. I'm not concerned about it. We're going to do it one more time, light side version, and then I'll do the dark side version. So I'm going to take this money here. I'm going to grab a new shooter's worth. We're going to put this back in the rack. And again, my goal here, I'll leave the change on the right side here. My goal here is to build up this here. Matter of fact, I'm going to take those greens for a black, and I want to make this shooter in the rack look like a full shooter. So I'm going to replenish that as fast as I can. I'm going to set the bets up here ahead of time. 2, 3, 4, there's the 100. 1, 2, this will need 5 reds. And again, we'll pay that gross tax over here for the come out 7. Top bets are off on the come out roll. Here we go. Bummer. Lose that. We're going to lose 2 of these. We're going to win 75. Okay. So the net result of that is we lost 20. We lost 100. So we lost 120. We've got 80 back. So we're $40 in the hole. What I'm going to do is put the 80 bucks right back on the don't. I'm going to try and make that thing work for me a little bit. Even though we're starting from behind, I'm going to reinvest it. So I'm 175 into this hand, or 275 into the hand all in. And I have less protection down here than I had before, but we have some protection. So that's how I'm going to take care of the tax if that happens to me. It's not perfect, but it's something. 0.9. Here we go. Let's roll some numbers here. Hopefully we can avoid the early 7 and the early point and get ourselves back in some profit land. We'll see. This depends on my rolls, right? The dice will do what they do. 4, 2, 6. 4, 2, 6. Pays 25, 35 bucks. We're rack the greens. I'm going to mark the 6 as being paid. I'm going to reinvest the reds on the right side. And we're going to live to play. There's the 6 being hit. Actually, I'll put these back here. And I'll show you how I work that other shooter here back to health if I can get some numbers. So there's one number's regressed. There's a hard 10, 5-5 hard 10. That's great. I'm going to pay this with green and red. So 25, it'll pay 50 for 1. Okay. I'm going to reinvest 2 reds. Table minimum. We'll rack the greens. I'll rack the remaining reds. And now I've got 2 bets that I've hit, which is great. When those ends hit, that really does help. And again, the last roll, we kind of burned a chance on the 4. That would have helped us a lot. Here we go again. Dice are out. 5, 4, 9. So right side heavy table here. We're losing our don'ts twice now. So that's a trend to be aware of. 9 pays 35. So we lost the 80. You win 35 back. It's a little bit of a, it's not great, but it's okay. Back to there we go. Puck is off. Now I've got the 9 also hit. I've got the 8, the 5, and the 4 still from the Butterburg, the original bet that we laid out, needing to get hit. If I look here at this shooter, the one that we had lost last time on, I'm going to evaluate the rack right now. If I take out 4 greens for a black and put it here, and I take one of these greens here and put it back up there, I recouped what I lost on the last shooter. Okay, we'll put this back in the bank. Now the shooter that we've got in front of us, we went out with 275. I've got about 30, or got almost 50 bucks in the rack. And I've got 75, 85, 95. I got $105 on the table. So we're actually not that bad. We're in pretty good shape right now on the rack. Even though it feels like, man, we're just not doing great. It's not awesome. So again, we're trying to build this thing up. So the goal of this strategy is to build it up into something when you go right side. I'm going to go dark side next. There's a 3. Don't care about that on the come out roll. There's a 4. The point's going to be 4. It's a 1, 3, 4. Okay, game on. Let's go. Let's get that point. And notice, when I did the Horseman rollout a week or so ago, I said, notice like partway through that thing, it looked nothing like the Horseman. And here, this looks nothing, again, like the Butterburg as we're going through it, right? It transforms into something different. There's a 5, 1, 6. And remember, we hit the 6 before, okay? So this is our first actual fear of missing out kind of hit. I'm going to take the 6. We're going to take 1 unit and build it to 18. We're going to rack half. We're going to go up half and rack half every single time on the repeater hits. There's the 6. Okay, here we go. Dice are out. Another 6, 4, 2, 6 again. There's the 4, 2, 6. That's going to pay 21. I'm going to turn this into 30. So 18 becomes 30. And the 6 is actually making money for us here, which is good. 6 gets built up where it was. Loving that. So again, the idea here is to take the initial Butterburg, rack only the greens, play only the reds aggressively. There's the 8. That's the first hit on the 8. Right, 3 or 4, 5, 6, 8. There's the 8. The 8's going to pay 35. We're going to rack those 2 green chips. We're going to come down, make it look like 12, and get that into the rack. All that's left is the 4, 5. Not bad. If we can hit every single number here, we're going to end up being okay. Here we go. Dice are out. That was sideways throughout to 5, though. I'll take that. 5 pays, 35. Again, rack the green, play the red. Into the rack we go. We're still not there yet. We have that loss of the don't pass plus the hedge on the 7. It's proving to be a tough deal. There's a 6-4-10 though. So in the long roll, we're doing okay. That's going to pay 20 for 2. Half press, we're going to take half of our winnings and push it up there on the number and rack. Now the 10's at 20 bucks. And it's bought. There's the 7. Okay. Before I take the money down, I want to talk about something. Let's first assess the rack. First things first, we're going to assess where we are. There's $10 in whites. Here's 50 in reds. And here is 175 in green. So remember, we started with 275, we have 175. We only lost actually the $100 that we lost on the don't, right? We ended up, that strategy worked its ass off to get us almost back to where we started because we lost early. Like this don't pass, to me, it's nice when it works, but when it doesn't work for you, when you hit the point and lose it, or when you hit that 7 and lose it, it's tough, man. That's a tough hill to climb back from. But notice how the strategy was pretty resilient, right? Had we hit the 4 at some point and had 50 bucks in there, then we're back to starting point. Not bad. Also remember this, with 175 here in the rack, which is good, what do we have out here? Remember, we needed 275 to get back to health. And out here, we've got another 100 bucks, right? There's 100 bucks. Had we pulled all that money down, what do you have here? If we pulled it down, you would have 275 bucks and you're back to total health, right? And the Dantana way, right? Pull after 3 hits, we would have been fine. We were trying to do a pure right side flip. We got almost the way there. We did okay with it, but frankly, I'm pretty happy. I'm put the $100 back in the bank. I'm happy that it was resilient enough to get us almost all the way home. That was actually pretty cool to watch. I think that was awesome. Now, we're going to take the 4th shooter here. I'm going to bring this guy out of the rack. We're going to play it the same way. I'm going to take these chips here. I'm going to get my rack reset. I'll make that a black. We're going to work this shooter to get that shooter back to health. We're $100 light on that shooter. Go back to the don't. We're going to go back across. That's the 100. That's the reds. And again, we'll pay the tax. Not loving the tax, we're going to pay it anyway. This time, we're going to transition to full dark mode. Okay, this is a risky play, but if the table is trending southward and you feel like this is what you need to do, here's how you do it. Okay, there's the 6 at the point. We're going to lose our tax. And now we're on the no 6, which is not great for us. Watch the red chips this time. We're going to transition the red chips into don't come bets this time for the sole purpose of getting extra power on the 7. Now this time, to PJ's point earlier, the don't pass bet starts out as a hedge. This time it's going to start out as the base. This is going to be the base of a hard 7 play. Yo 11 does nothing. We're going to build up strength here as we go. Really not feeling my throat today. I'm just like, damn it, 7 right away. That's a bummer. We're going to play this one through again. So we lost. Worst case scenario, you lose the 160. You win 100. That's not enough to get you across. You're going to get paid 4 of them. We got to pull money out of here. I'm going to pull money out of my last shooter to get even here. There's our tax. So now our remaining shooter in the rack there is just down to one $100 unit. Let's come back out. I want to get this. I want to see a nice long roll here so we can show you how the transition works. The transition from this to go dark is actually pretty cool. All right, point's going to be 9. Let's get more than one toss in. And again, I think I saw Dan there in the chat. I'm not doing the sacrificial roll. Again, it's not a mathematical play. I know that you play it because you like to, and I think that's the right reason to do it. If that's, oh my God, really? We did it a second time. Look at that. Dan, I should have played it that time, right? Not a big deal. I would have lost that, by the way, come out roll. All right, let's go back into the well here. I'll use the greens to pay that. And again, we'll come out across. If you're a trend watcher, you're definitely seeing some ugliness here. Goes back to the rack. There's our attacks to come out with. Here we go again. That's 2 0.7 outs back to back, which is super ugly. That's a 6 again. We're on the 6. To get some numbers here so I can show you the transition. It's nice to get a hit or two so we can see it in action. 1, 2, 3, the shocker again. No help, no harm. Oh, for Christ's sake, 4, 3, 7 again. I'm just 3 times in a row now. All right, we're just gonna get ripped here. I'm gonna keep doing this. This is when, and Greg will agree with me, this is when you leave. You get beat 3 times in a row. You gotta get the hell out of Dodge, right? So we're gonna have to go one more level deep into the rack here to make this work, which is unfortunate. These don't matter anymore. Okay, here we go. Don't come, or don't pass rather. There's 4 for 1. 5 for 1. We'll get these bets preset. There's our hopping 7s. Here we go. Let's get set back up. I need to get a point and at least one number so you can see how this thing goes. There's the 1, 2, 3. That actually helps finally. We finally got a come out winner that will be something positive for all this mess. Okay, here we go. Coming out. That point, by the way, the puck should be off here, by the way. That's the new point is 8. All right, here we go. Let's work some numbers here this time. Let's get more than 0. That would be nice. More than 0 numbers hit. Here we go. All right, finally, 4, 1, 5. Okay, so we get a 5 this time. Now watch what happens to the Reds. We're finally getting set back up. We're gonna get paid 35 bucks. We're gonna rack the green, only rack the green, put the Reds here in the don't. If we can get a couple of hits in a row, you'll see that the 7 becomes really, really strong, really, really cheap, because all those red chips don't cost you a thing. You're gonna get, essentially, if we can get it, another 7, 8 bucks or so, if we can last into the don't. Now, of course, we get that. We're gonna lose our don't. But the 8's gonna still pay, and we're still gonna play the system here, right? This goes to the 8. The 8's gonna pay 35. We're gonna rack the greens. We're gonna save the Reds for the next point. Those were lost from before. Let's see if we can't recover ourselves. I'll just randomly get out here for a new point. The new point will be 5. And here we go. Let's get some numbers. Oh, that goes into the don't. Our Reds from the last win, right into the don't come. Let's work that 7. Let's build it up if we can. There goes to the 9. It travels here. 9 pays 35. Rack the green. Reinvest the red. And as you can see, the 7's getting stronger and stronger as we go here. If we didn't lose that don't come on, or the don't pass on the last point, you'd have pretty good looking 7 protection right now. There's a 5, hits the point, doesn't matter. Right, the Butterburg took that away, which is good. Now we have, look at that, we got 50 or 25, 35 bucks out there on the 7. Come out 7 now is actually helpful to us. There's a yo, does not matter. Okay, new point's going to be the 8. We will lose that. We're going to work the 4 the 6 and the 10 here. Get one of those things to hit. We'll be in good shape. Here we go. We have no more reds to invest on this first roll out though. There's a 10, that's solid. There's a 6, 4, 10. I'm gonna pay that in green and red. Come on you. There we go, for our dollar tax. I'm gonna put 2 in the don't. I'll save 3 in case I want to for later, and I'm gonna pull the greens down. Look at our green stack is growing pretty good there. We need what? We need the 4 and the 6. I'm not Ed Robinson. I can't set the dice and get you a 4 or a 6, unfortunately, but I can do my best. We got a 7. Okay, we got a 7. We're gonna lose these 2. We're gonna lose what was coming in the don't. We're gonna get paid out here at a quarter. So the reds that we were kind of reinvesting didn't do a great job, but they did give us a quarter back, which is pretty cool. We started out with 275. We have 2 1/4. We're really just 50 bucks down after losing the don't pass for 100. Look at that, how that transition worked, right? Transitioning from the Butterburg into the don't, even though we lost 100 bucks on the don't come on the first shot, right? With that 6 being hit, we're still just about back to where we need to be. I think it's pretty cool. Here in the rack, let's try and get ourselves close to normal here. We have 100. There's a full shooter. There's 100. Let's get a black for that. Let's put this back in place. There's 250. There's another. So we actually profited back to a full shooter. We're just 1 shot down now, right? I'm gonna run that one more time through just so you can see it. I think I got a few minutes left here. We'll run one more time dark side switch. We've done the light side switch. We'll do the dark side switch one more time. I'm still not sold on the don't pass rather, but we're gonna play it out that way. There's 5 for 1. Again, I'm gonna preset the board here. Oh, come on, preset the board. Pay the tax, coming out. Let's get the puck off. Love how that don't pass lasts a little longer than normal. Oh, good, aces. That's actually really good. First time we've had, or the second time we've had a little bit of love on the come out. That's great. Put that right in the rack there. Here we go. That's a yo, so we give it right back. We're gonna lose it. It's gonna go back. And actually those, we paid that tax earlier, not going back. Here we go. Okay, 6 is the point. Same goal as last time. Rack the green, reinvest the reds into the don't, and get strong on the dark side here. Let's see if we can do that. Get that done here. Here we go. Let's get some numbers rolled. 527, not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. Dice aren't favorable to me today, unfortunately. But that was so short. I'm gonna roll it out again. I'm just gonna go ahead and take it here. Let's take another crack at it. Just because, again, I think it's fun to see me lose and make a little fun of me. It's more important that you see how the strategy morphs. I think that the lesson here is gonna be not so much does John roll good, but more on the lines of how do you work the strategy and see how it performs over many, many, many rolls, right? You can't roll it out twice and say, well, that sucks. You got to roll it out a bunch of times and hope you can get good statistics from it and see how you're doing. There's an 8 for the point. Tax is paid. We paid that tax like 7 times. I think it actually covered us 1 time today on the 7. Otherwise, we probably donated at least 105 bucks worth of 7 coming out taxes today. So that proved to be not worth it. Yesterday it would have helped. Today, not so much. Oh, you got to be kidding me! 538. I'm telling you what, I'm finding every hole today, every soft spot. I'm getting it today. That's okay. 538. Oh, we got to make sure that we pay ourselves on that. It pays 35. Again, we'll rack those greens up. We'll take the reds, reinvest them. Oh, no, we're not doing that. Sorry, my bad. The 3 reds, reset that. The 3 reds are going to come back through the don't. My bad. We're on the dark side today, or this strategy here. Coming out. 9, new point is 9. Now we'll take those 3 reds from the 8, put them in the don't come. And let's get those box numbers hit in there, shall we? Here we go. That's a 1, 2, 3. That's going to pay 15 in the don't come. Finally, a little bit of positive love for us here. Let's take that back to the rack. Okay, here we go. That's a 5, 4, 9. This don't moves to the 9. Puck comes off. 9 pays 35. 2 reds into the don't come. That goes to the rack. Now, I'm going to take 75 of that and put it right here to get that next shooter that we had lost earlier on corrected. I've got some red chips here. This don't come will come through after the point's been reestablished. Come out 7 here actually wins us a little bit. Good time for it to come. We don't get it. It's just going to be a 6. Point's going to be 6. Now I'll bring that $10 from the 9 win through the don't. And we're going to start building up that don't action if we can. Here we go. 5, 3, 8. That goes to the 8. Because I had no previous win, I'm not going back in here. We're only going to invest the profits as we come into the don't. $617. Well, it came early. Would like to have had some more hits in here to earn, but that wins a quarter. I'm going to replace those 5 with a quarter. And get back in here. This is also going to be a quarter. So we ended up with $100, 105 out of 160. Again, short rolls, the death of any strategy for the most part. I'm turning the light off and go back here. And let's get in here and talk about it. I know there's probably a ton of chats that I haven't seen yet because I'm rolling too much. Okay, here we go. Put the glasses back on so I can see what's up here. All right, so the idea here was this. I'm gonna try and read all this stuff. It's gonna be pretty tough. The idea here was to show you 2 ways to transition, right? One is way number 1, straight Butterburg. Take the hits, put it all into your rack. Way number 2, take the hits on the thing, rack the greens or the blacks or whatever, and take the caps plus the winnings and make it a place bet. It ends up being a natural regression with the winnings. I think that's a really strong play. It keeps you across. It puts all those across bets at no risk. If you get a good long roll, we had 1 roll like that, which worked out. You can keep hitting in there and earn money, but racking solid colors, which is great. That worked out well once. The third option is to take the hits, again, rack the green, put the red chips in the don't come. So you can transition this thing from straight, just collect, to collect the color, the green or the black or whatever, and reinvest the change as place bets, staying light side. You can take this thing and say, let's, again, rack the greens or the blacks or the colored chips and put the reds or the caps into the don't come and build up some don't. Now today, that didn't work out at all. I mean, I was a little choppy there at the end. When I have had success with that, you'll hit 3 or 4 of the numbers and get 3 or 4 don't come bets set behind plus your $100 don't. When the 7 comes, you can almost double up. It works out good when it works out good. Today, my rolls didn't work out so good, but that's okay, right? That's going to happen. And I think it's good that it happens when we're here. Yeah, so I love this. Save the $15 and play the slots. I don't know still yet about that $15 tax. Today, the $15 tax killed me, which is unfortunate because, we lost a good I think probably almost 20. I'll count at least $120 out there. Was not a great play today. Yesterday, I got crushed on the sevens. Today, what crushed me was the quick points. I think Dan Tana had a thing the other day where he didn't you have like five in a row where you hit the point right away and lost all those odds on the don't. Some days you just roll that way. And today was a day where I hit the point like over and over again. It's like, well, today's the day where the don't come or the don't pass bet was the worst bet on the table. That didn't pay us but twice all day. We never got paid on a 7, and we only got paid twice, I think, on come out crap numbers. So it was a bad bet today. That's totally fine, right? That works out. But I wanted to make the point. That's what I did, Waylon. So I take the bets down, and then I replace them with DC bets, only with the caps though, not the whole thing. So if I had a $25 9, I would take the $35 win, rack 50, DC 10. That way you're DCing only with profits, not with what you had. And I'm always racking a profit. So this whole idea of, let me go back and show you that, because I think it's an important case to make here. Let's take just the 9 as the example. 9 pays 35 bucks, right? The ABCs of craps, we've heard this, right? Always be collecting, right? Always be collecting. I'm collecting color and I'm reinvesting profit. That's a strong way to play. I think that's really a strong way to play. Always be collecting. And frankly, if you're playing up here at a higher level, if you're at Dan Tana's level and that's a $100 bet, right? And it pays 125, 140, right? I'm racking black and I'm don't coming with the 40 bucks, right? I might even rack the colors and just come through with the 15. It depends on your table minimum and how aggressive you want to be on the 7. But to me, rack the base, rack the color that matches the base, and take the rest of it. This can become either a new place bet, it can become a don't come bet, it can become a come bet, or it can just go back with you and lock in. You've got 3 options with every single bet. And I think that's the thing that's really cool about this strategy, not the Butterburg itself. Anytime you're going across, right? Anytime you have a bet on any number, that's your option. Remember that. You can take your winnings, rack just the winnings. You can take the bet and your winnings to your rack, which is awesome. You can take your bet and most of your winnings and do something else with the excess. You can put it back here. Lots of things you can do with the profits on the table. The Butterburg just sets you up with the idea of coming out as a cross with that little bit of help, right? To me, that don't pass is a little bit of help that is supposed to get you to where you can get a couple of hits without taking it on the chin. Today, we took it on the chin every single time because I was hitting points. So that was it. Oh man, this poor guy, he's leaving. But sorry about that, man. Shoulder injuries suck. I have had many shoulder surgeries and they are none fun at all. That's the worst thing. It's the worst thing ever. Anyway, that is it. So Dan, yes, Dan, the Butterburg is unstoppable. Here's the thing about it. And I said this yesterday. I don't know if you heard it or not, Dan. I'm going to go back to the table again because I can do that. What I love about the strategy, and to me, it's the same thing that I like about, let's review the Horseman, right? The Horseman with the $25 there and whatever you're going to do in the come, right? Strong on the 7 here, right? We're still strong on the 7. We're still strong on the 7. Boom. Now when I get my hits, these are comebacks, by the way. When I get my hits, I have the option, right? The 9 gets hit. It comes down. I can replace it. I can don't come it, or I can collect it. Remember, you got those options with every single strategy that you run. Every single strategy has that same set of options on it. The Headless Horseman is strong as these bets are coming out, right? The Butterburg is weak as these bets are getting hit, right? These are like preset, almost like put bets really, but they're going to have the juice on them. It's weak until you start getting the hits. Once you get the hits, this thing is strong as hell. And like I said, you got to be creative, I think, with your wins. I think that the secret to this game, when you figure out what a trend looks like and you figure out how to read that table, you can move those bets around where you think you need to. Now today, I wasn't trying to read a trend. I was trying to just force you to see the dark side version or force you to see the light side version. The dice were opposite of what I was trying to show you both times. But the point is, use your options well. This strategy provides you options with those bets. And I think that's a beautiful thing. The horseman does as well. And I think having options, having the ability to flip light side or dark side or just rack profit, having the ability to just turn it off after two, fan-freaking-tastic. I love it. So that's it. Dan, I think I love your strategy. I think it's great. I'm not sure what's going on in the chat right now, but I agree with the statement here. There you go. I think that it's going to be unstoppable. It's a really cool base strategy. Like the strategy itself, the base of that strategy, I think is really strong. So there you go. So any other things you want to talk through before I get back to work? Yeah, PJ, you're saying there might be some challenging going on here. You're the guy with pass line max odds and comeback max odds always working. That's an aggressive play. I played with a guy who I've played with two people, by the way, and one of these stories is coming out. You all get to hear it here first in the next podcast. Actually, I was playing the horseman at a casino, and this guy at the end was playing come bets with odds, and I was playing the headless horseman, no odds on the come bets, and he was like, "You got to play odds. You're missing out on the best bet on the table, and you get the whole house edge versus whatever thing." And I'm like, "Yeah," I said, "It's a shitty bet. I mean, to me, putting odds on the floor is a dumb thing to do." And so through the course of about 15 minutes, he keeps riding me. Well, the guy next to me who's playing come bets max odds burns his entire bankroll. He got whacked 3 or 4 times. I'm making money the whole way through in the horseman. And I said, "So you think I should play like that guy played?" And he walked away with 0 money. So come bets with max odds works when it works. It doesn't work most of the time. And I think, it's one of those things where it's a ton of risk for all the bets being not in your favor. Not one place bet or come bet is ever in your favor once it gets set. We got to remember that. There's risk there. And again, house edge aside, the probability of beating the 7 on any of those bets is you're always negative on that. So that said, I do like my come bets. I have come bets in almost every strategy. I just don't go max odds with them. Greg wants to see the Buttercup. The Buttercup, we can do it again. I like the name of that strategy. We'll call it the Buttercup from now on. It's actually it's got a name, Greg. They call it, I think they call it the Hungry 6 and 8 or Feed the 6 and 8, something like that is where the strategy was born. Jeremy has shown it. I think it's been on Larry Kasper's channel at some time too. That's where I got the idea for it from. But I like the Buttercup as a name better because that's it. And the world will never forget Greg singing "Build Me Up Buttercup" on the live stream. I'll also never forget Greg last night doing his best Mid-Atlantic Craps imitation. That was fantastic. That was one of the best things I think I've ever seen. Between those two things, that's great. So is it better and less risky than 160 across? I don't know. I mean, you're still at risk, right? The 7's still going to beat you. If the 7 comes, you get hammered. 160 across, you're right. You're going to get little versus one big smack on the number, right? To me, exposure comes in a number of forms. Exposure comes in how much is out there, right? A $25 bet with 150 in odds on it, or 125 in max odds if you're on the 6 or 8. That's a lot of monetary exposure. The length of time that bet is going to be active, waiting for one number to hit versus the 7, the length of time it takes is it's 2 levels of exposure that I don't want to be out there for. The across bets has the monetary exposure, the same level perhaps, as a 25 plus 125 is almost the same number of dollars, yet I'm across more numbers. So I have more coverage. I can hit and pull the whole thing down and be in profit earlier than you can with a max bet. I have options there. And I think I like the fact that the numbers are the same, 150 versus 160. The whack is the same as the 7 kills us both. It's a matter of how long your bets are out there. That's the thing where exposure, the time exposure can hurt you there. So just think about that when you're doing it. The 3-point molly is tough. The headless horseman is my favorite way to play out of the gate, but it's got the spots where, the exposure for those bets can hurt you. So, but I agree. I think, like I said, I love come bets. It's great. Zoff, I'm still yapping here. I got on a roll, 1 hour show. So anyway, Thanks for being here. I think the Dantana strategy, the Butterburg, is fun to play. I like this strategy. I'm just not feeling the don't come by itself or don't pass by itself. I can't do the do we don't with the super odds. I don't love the super odds either. So I'm trying to find a way to beat the 7 here. That's a cleaner way of doing it. I'm going to keep playing with it because I like the options on the across bets. And I think if nothing else, examining the Butterburg has given me more time to think about options on those place bets and the ways that I want to play them and kind of transition through them as we go. So I just think it's a good thinker for me anyway. So I like that. Anyway, that's it. It's Wednesday. It's 9:15. Time to get back to work for everybody here. So thank you all for joining in and playing along and chatting it up. And yeah, I think that's all we've got here. I'll read through chats later on and I'll address things in comments if I can. So thanks again, all. Have a good Wednesday. See you later.